Hello, I'm just coming from watching the new Cinderella on Amazon Prime today, September 3rd, 2021. So, I would ask if you guys have seen it yet, but I mean, it hasn't even been out for 12 hours, so I'll give you a little time. These are my raw, exclusive, just watched it, so I haven't really even formulated all the thoughts yet, take on Cinderella. It was amazing. That's my take. It was amazing. Thank you, everyone. Good night. Okay. Purpose. This Cinderella really explores purpose because, of course, you have the Cinderella formula. Yes, she's in an abusive relationship with her stepmother, and yes, she is subservient to them, and yes, she has dreams and goals, but they're being squashed by people who don't appreciate her, and yes, she's gonna go to a ball. But this Cinderella really approaches relationships from all different types. You have the stepmother, played by Idina Menzel, who is nefarious and bleak, but also a woman who's dealing with her circumstances and does not want to set up false expectations for her family because of her own expectations and the way they were dashed. Then you have Cinderella, played by Camila Cabello, who is sassy and delicious and witty and just adorable and emotional and sad, but also strong because she's not going to let being sad stop her from doing something. She's just going to be sad and then she's going to carry on with her life. And then you have the prince. I can't remember who he was played by. Remember, this is my raw, we just watched it moment, so pardon me, no notes. But he starts off as, I wouldn't even say a typical man-child. I would say more written to be what you expect a typical man-child to be like. But no, actually, he shows a lot of growth and a lot of perspective. Now you have the king and the queen, played by Minnie and Pierce Brosnan, who are in this twisted, the king is always right relationship, and it's angsty for the queen because she's got feelings, and he's like, I'm the king, only I matter. And then you have the stepsisters, who actually are not the worst. They are also just young women dealing with their circumstances who have a bully for a mother and have to figure that out. So, wow. And then these are just the relationships that we expect to see. We have additional characters. The prince has a sister, and her name is Gwen. She is keenly interested and aware of the system that's broken and wants to fix it. Then we also have these nobles who are playing the games that nobles play, trying to arrange powerful marriages on the side, and the prince doesn't want to deal with that. This is a musical, but this is not a typical musical. The orchestrations are rich and deep and modern, and the costumes are exciting, and everyone is working within the system. So you know what? Let's start there. This is exploring systems that are already in existence and questioning, do they have to stay that way? It's also observing everyone's roles in the systems, people who accept it and people who do not. And obviously in this version, our Cinderella, Ella. Her name is Ella. Ella is expressing, no, I do not plan on living my life in this system, and I know it's going to be difficult to get out of this system, but hey, my life is already difficult, so what can I lose? Love that attitude. This is fun. This is colorful. This is exuberant. The music is a mix of music that already exists in pop culture and music written exclusively for this production. And the narrative is woven into the lyrics. Each character's song is cultivated to express their circumstances, their situations, their emotions towards the whole thing. Okay, so we know where it follows the typical Cinderella story. Where does it veer off? How does it make it their own? Well, if you saw the trailer, or my review about the trailer, then you know this Cinderella is an artist and a designer who wants to make her own clothing. Clothing by Ella. So we have a designer Cinderella. She makes clothing, and I mean, she designs it, she gets the fabric herself, she sews it up, and then she takes it out to market. And with her plan to go sell it, this is how she meets the prince. So she and the prince meet before the ball. Love when they do that. And the prince actually is aware of her before she's aware of him, because you have the nobility coming out to wave, and Ella can't see, so she ends up climbing this statue, the statue of the former king, which causes Pierce Brosnan to say, "Get off my dad," which is whole other hot take. But there she is. She's got a presentation. She's sitting in the lap of the former king. And the prince is just dazzled by this woman who dares not just be seen, but speak back to his father, the king. And that's an amazing moment. So she stands out and he decides, like, I have to meet this woman. Who is she? And this is how he cultivates his plan. He decides, I'm going to go out and find her. If she's cool, I'm going to invite her to the ball. If she's not cool, then I'll just get this infatuation over with and figure out my life because my dad's trying to make me marry for power. So he goes out into the market where he finds Ella peddling her dress, or attempting to, because everyone else is living within the system and they don't respond well to Ella, who is breaking the rules, who is declaring herself a business person, someone with wares, someone worth listening to, someone with worth. And that gets discussed a lot. The worth, the inherent worth of ourselves, and the dichotomy of worth that is depicted through a structure that none of us designed, but all live within. So the prince meets Ella in the marketplace. They talk. They never talk names. But he ends up buying the dress off of her because he's so amazed by it, and she sells it to him for 3 times the price she was asking. That was all the prince. And then we have a successful Ella. She sold her first dress. She took the first step. It was terrifying, but she did it. However, now that she's accepted this invitation to the ball, because he did extend one, he was like, wow, this girl, cool, she's sassy. She did badmouth the prince directly to his face, but like, she was talking about things that she's heard. It's not her personal feelings. And the prince was never taken seriously before this because he was off goofing off, living his life, because everything was put into place for him without his consent. So he's like, I'm gonna do whatever I want because I have... This rebellion is the only way I can express myself. That's how the prince feels. So the prince kind of pulls a Princess Jasmine, you know, he snuck out into town, he mingled with the townspeople, he flirted with a commoner, he wooed her a little bit. And then of course you have Cinderella's relationship to nature. In this case, she saves a cocoon from a spider's web, and throughout the film she sees it's blossoming, it's growing, and she's nurturing it with her kindness. She talks to it. Being kind to the world around us yields amazing effects. All right. Now, interesting things about this stepmother, because as I mentioned before, she is raising her daughters to live within the structure, to live by the rules that were set before someone else, not designed by her. So in this film, she actually has her own daughters partaking in menial labor so that they can understand what happens to women in the system who do not marry well. She even talks about attraction and romance, like there's an attractive young farmhand just throwing hay and being all manly and sexy, and the girls are like, maybe he needs a wife. Very cute. And so stepmother is like, you got to stay on point. You can't be wooed by someone sexy because that guy can't provide for you. He works for someone else. You have to find someone who can provide for you. Blah, do the laundry. So this is something we don't typically see. We typically see a spoiled daughter, a woman who's like, you're going to get it all, sweetie. And this woman's like, no, 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 you're going to work so you can know what is out there if you don't follow the rules. And remember, the rules are marry well. And then I mentioned the prince has a little sister, Princess Gwen, who is deeply interested in politics, has fresh and innovative ideas to help the old broken system that are keeping people in poverty. And it's played for laughs, but she genuinely has great concepts and good ideas, and that'll come back later. This movie doesn't dismiss these ideas. It's just like, yeah, we know typically you would expect this person to be brushed under the rug, but stay tuned. We see her making a new dress to go to the ball this way. Oh, he promised that he would hobnob with her, even though he didn't tell her he was the prince, that he knows people in higher circles and can help her products be sold. And on the night of the ball, the stepmother splashes her with ink. Oh yeah, there's this side character who is into Ella, and so she's betrothed Ella to this guy without telling her so that she can get rid of her, essentially. One less mouth to feed. Obviously, this is devastating, but that cocoon she rescued finally hatches, and here we have our fabulous godmother, or Fab G, as Billy Porter declares. Hilarious interactions, wonderful music. Oh my goodness. You're a Shining Star is the song that they sing to the transformation sequence. And yes, one of her designs becomes the stunning gown that she wears. And the transformation, I mean, magical obviously, but they use the petals of a tree to flutter onto her and become the appliques of her stunning, glittering, gorgeous dress. They have a fantastic number. There's a hilarious moment about the shoes. I have heard that this moment irritates a lot of people, but it's commentary. Women's shoes really do suck. They're designed to be beautiful. They're not designed to feel good. And you know what? At first, Fab G is like, I can't make it better, even magic has its limits. But only a few moments later, a swish and flick of the wand, and suddenly Ella can walk easier. The mice are hysterical. They're all having a human experience for the first time and for a very brief time. And so this highlights how entertaining a human actually is. Like, our bodies, they're weird, they're strange, they're fun. Humans are amazing, and I don't think that gets talked up often enough. We often talk about how terrible we are and how we do terrible things to each other, but there's more than just being terrible. We're capable of it, obviously. Look at the world today. But that's not all a human is. So the mice are experiencing what it's like to be human. They're gossiping about Ella being at the ball, and Ella hobnobs. She isn't recognized by the stepmother because Fab G puts a spell on her so that only the prince will recognize her. And they have an interesting exchange, and the stepmother's not horrible to her. Probably because she believes she's her better and she wants to hobnob with wealthy people. But it's still the first time that Ella has experienced a relationship with the stepmother that was not negging antagonism. And then a marvelous opportunity at the ball. Ella meets Queen Tatiana, who loves the construction of her gown and how glamorous it is and how her clothes don't make her feel that way. So they strike a bargain. I'd like to see more of what you design. Meet me tomorrow at 4 o'clock. And thrilled, Ella goes downstairs where the prince is declaring that he's already found the one, but he can't find her. And then she trips over a drum set. There are so many amazing musical interludes. I wish I could talk about them all. I probably could, but I won't. Go watch the movie and then talk to me, and then we can gush together. So now we have the wooing. They have a dance. They have a moment where the prince reveals that the dress he bought off Ella is now being worn by Princess Gwen. And it's a very emotional moment for her because he genuinely saw the beauty in the gown, shared it with someone he loved, and now someone he loved is representing her hard work and her intrinsic design skills and beautiful imagination. Then they go off, they have a flirtation, they're having lots of fun. He plays the piano for her and he's like, yo, I want you to be my princess. And this is where Ella puts her foot down. She's like, I'm having a fun flirtation with you, but the life that you lead is really similar to my life in a basement. It's trapped, it's confined, and I already know what I want to do. So I cannot marry you because I already planned my life for myself. And he doesn't fight her on this, which is nice. It's nice to see someone who's listening to who they profess to be interested in. So he's a little heartbroken, but he accepts. He helps her escape when midnight comes and she's got to run away. The entire gown, carriage mice slowly detract and pop out of existence, and she has to walk home in the dark, which is terrifying, but this is a magical movie, so they're not playing it that way. But really, God, I would hate to have to walk in the woods at night alone to get home. Woof. But she has plans. Now she's going to meet Queen Tatiana the next day to show her the designs. But uh-oh, this is where the stepmother is like, hey, so you're betrothed to this guy, and if you don't marry him, I'm going to kick you out. Then she sees the shoe. And then she realizes that Ella was the magical maiden at the ball who stole the prince's heart, when she does try to convince Ella to marry the prince because it will solve all their problems. Before she finds the shoe, the stepmother actually shares an intimate moment. She confides in Ella. She expresses that she knows that she's mean and harsh, and she doesn't do it to break Ella's spirit. She does it because her spirit was broken and, well, I mean, she does still break Ella's spirit. Well, no, she doesn't, but she does kind of try. But she only tries because that's how the system is designed. It doesn't care what special, unique shape you are. It's like, fit in this. Anyway, a plan is formed. Then we have the king and the queen. The queen has been angry with the king this entire time because they have a sour relationship. This movie explores different kinds of relationships. It explores the princess who has ideas but is expected to be a princess. It explores the prince who's expected to marry, and he's like, what if I do it for love, though? This explores the typical servile position mixed with, you know what, work itself is not bad as long as I'm doing work that serves myself. This movie explores with a refreshing eye so many different dimensions that many of us will lead and explore and experience in our life. And does it with such great music and such beautiful costumes. So the queen has an entire moment with the king talking about how they had love once, but once he became king, he became so self-absorbed, he decided no one's opinion mattered other than his own. And this is probably why the prince does not want to marry, because they have set a bad example through their bad marriage. It's not to say the marriage is always bad, but it's gone down a bad path. Love that has expired, but is not dead, but is in pain. And the king sees the error of his ways, but he doesn't change overnight. He does make small changes, though. He allows the prince to make his own decision and pursue Ella in a different capacity. He allows the relationship to begin to repair between himself and the queen. I mean, he does it in a slightly immature way where he serenades her the way he used to when they were young, and the queen is like, this is literally not what I meant, but it's a bonding moment. And then you have Ella, who's being carted off to marry that rando who wants to take her away, but she has a plan. She escapes with the help of her mice, runs to freedom. She's gonna make that 4 o'clock appointment, so help her. And the prince is also looking for her, so they meet up in a moment of running into Times Square. They meet up in a moment where they're both headed in the same direction, and he confesses to her that her choosing her life path has made him realize he has choices and he does not have to do what was set out for him, even though he always believed he had. And so he's telling her that he's interested in pursuing her, and if pursuing her dreams is how he can be with her, then he's on board. And so she tells him she needs help getting into the square. They make it there together. Queen Tatiana is like, I love your designs, get on my ship. And now they have a plan, and everyone is happy. The prince and Ella are together, but they're not just gonna go get married. No, they're gonna travel the world. Huh, the dream! And Princess Gwen is now next in line because she's the one who legitimately has been paying attention to the country and the needs of the people. And the king is willing to surrender some power for the sake of growing his relationships. And then you have another musical number. Everything was so well thought out. The dialogue is hilarious, very modern, very quirky and silly, because this is a fun movie. Don't take it so seriously, but do feel the heart behind the film, of which there is much. So that's my quick hot take. Go watch this movie, available on Amazon Prime today. And I will see you guys next time on The Cinderella Circle. Does out. So many powerful musical moments. Ah, love it, love it, love it. Trumpets, I really miss trumpets. Guys, if you're a musician, if you are projecting your voice powerfully into the air, please make sure you are vaccinated. And if you are a person who has decided that you're not vaccinated, please make sure that you're masking up. You can't do both. This is a difficult time, and we want to get back to being social, but there are changes, and this movie makes me want to dance. Dance!